Studies Section 2, Correlation Theory. Introduction. This study session will expose you to the degree of linear associations among various correlation coefficients and how they are determined. You will also evaluate different types of correlation coefficients. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this section, you should be able to explain the meaning of correlation coefficients, enumerate the types of correlation coefficients. The correlation coefficient. This is the measure of the strength or degree of linear association between two variables. For instance, we may wish to find the correlation coefficient between students' performance and their reading habits, or between consumption and income, or between children, how training, and their characters. In correlation analysis, variables are treated symmetrically, that is, no distinction between the dependent and explanatory variables. Here the variables are assumed to be random. The correlation coefficient is computed as follows. R is equal to summation xi y y over square root of summation xi squared in bracket summation yi squared in bracket is equal to n summation xi yi minus summation xi in bracket summation yi in bracket over square root of n summation xi squared minus summation xi in bracket squared n summation yi squared minus summation yi in brackets. The correlation coefficient lies between -1 and +1, which indicates that the coefficient lies between perfect negative association and perfect positive association. Rank correlation coefficient. The rank correlation coefficient, otherwise known as the spare rank correlation test, is represented as R spare rank is equal to 1 minus 6 parenthesis open summation di squared over n into bracket n squared minus 1 bracket closed parenthesis closed, equation 6, where di is the difference in the ranks assigned to two different characteristics of the ith individual of phenomenon and n is the number of individuals of phenomena ranked. Types of correlation coefficients. Partial correlation coefficients. This correlation occurs when there are two or more explanatory variables. This simply means that at least 3 variables must be present in the model before the partial correlation coefficient can be applied. In practice, the partial correlation coefficient between any two variables, say xy, with the influence of the third variable removed or held constant, is denoted as Rxyz. This partial correlation could be expressed in terms of 3 simple correlation coefficients, Rxy, Rxz, and Ryz. Thus, Rxyz is equal to Rxy minus Rxz Ryz over square root of 1 minus Rxz squared square root of 1 minus Ryz squared, where Rxy is equal to correlation between y and x. Rxz is equal to correlation between x and z. Ryz is equal to correlation between y and z. These simple correlation coefficients are often called zero-order coefficients, while coefficients like Rx, Y, Z are first-order coefficients given that the common influence of one other variable has been taken into consideration. The other form of correlation coefficient is simple correlation. In a typical spurious correlation cases, the zero-order correlations tend to be large, whereas first-order correlation will be negligible. However, in general, first-order correlations may be larger or smaller than the corresponding zero-order coefficient, and they may not even have the same sign. In the three-variable case, the first measures the net association between x and z when any common influence of y has been allowed for, and the second measures the net association between y and z when any common effect from x has been removed. The formula for the other two first-order correlation is given as Rxzy is equal to Rxz minus Rxy Ryz over square root of 1 minus Rxy squared, square root 1 minus Ryz squared. Ryzx is equal to Ryz minus Ryx Rzx over square root of 1 minus Ryz squared, square root of 1 minus Ryx squared, square root of 1 minus Rzx squared. Studies section summary. In this study section, you were exposed to the concept and types of correlation coefficient. Correlation coefficient measures the strength or degree of linear association between two variables. Types of correlation coefficients that were discussed include partial correlation. This is the end of study section 2. Thanks for listening.